In just a matter of days, 31st of January to be precise, the old Naira notes will cease to be legal tender, with a countdown on for Nigerians to deposit their old notes in exchange for the new redesigned notes. There have been reactions in some states on scarcity of the new notes at automated teller machines, also known as ATMs. But according to the CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele, the Apex Bank has deployed its personnel to the hinterlands to ensure sensitization and availability of the new notes. According to the governor, 1.4 million super agents have so far been assigned nationwide for cash exchange and swap at various locations across the 6 geopolitical zones in the country. However, the Senate has urged the central bank to extend deadline for the use of the old Naira notes from January 31st to July 31st. Through a motion of urgent public importance by Senator Sadiq Umar, highlighting challenges faced by some Nigerians in trying to do the exchange. While there are those who outrightly rebel against the move by the Apex Bank, there are those who believe for this process to yield desired results, it must be done gradually. So, should the old currency be phased out gradually rather than the given deadline? What are the implications of these on small businesses, and will these in any way puncture an already overbloated inflation rate? Answers to these and more will be provided on this program, Nigeria Today, by our guest. I am Vicaria Clinton. Welcome to the program. With me in the studio to shed more light on issues with the new Naira notes is David Akoji, Special Advisor to the Director General, National Orientation Agency. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Ikeria. Good evening, viewers.
And also with me in the studio is Ahmed Abubakar Tanimo, a former banker and human rights lawyer. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Always a delight being here.
Well, all right, I'll start with you, Tanimo. What is the situation with the availability of the Naira notes? I know you've been in touch with some of your colleagues, yeah. And of course you've been visiting the ATMs and the bank. So what has been the situation?
Well, as at yesterday, I did a transaction towards 6 p.m. or so. I tried to pay down and I went to all the ATMs around, starting from the city center in central area down to area 11, went as far as almost all the machines. They are not dispensing any cash at all. And the person I bought items from became G3, thinking, and we saw the crowd, people going all around the city center. There wasn't an ATM that was dispensing. So a lot of people, the palpable fear is already being felt. People are agitated. People don't know what the transitioning will be like. The sensitization is different from what people are seeing in reality. If banks over time have refused to dispense cash, before now we've complained what the banks are doing deliberately. You go to your bank, the maximum amount you have to be able to access is 10,000 is pegged at that, and we all know all the ATMs that you know can dispense up to 40,000 at a single go, but the banks are refusing to allow it work. So what we are seeing is that the banks, the commercial banks, are deliberately refusing to obey the directives of the central bank, and the central bank over time, because some of us see it as collusion, some of them will see that they've either jump into the ring by performing the role of commercial banks. That regulatory framework and the sanction ability is lacking. That is why the CBN can give directives and commercial bank can choose to do what they feel like doing. So the deadline for me, even though you've not gone to that aspect, is not realistic. It's not something that they can achieve because they fail to put in the measures, the right processes for such implementation to be done within that short time frame.
Okay, Akoji, you just heard what he said. He said sensitization is different from what they are seeing, you know. And of course, the National Assembly has called on the president to intervene, you know, citing tight schedule as reason. Do you think enough time was given, you know, for the currency swap, because it just started recently, and now this.
Well, the Naira redesign policy is around the neighborhood of 3 months, since the notice was given. And the president did say even around that time that 3 months is sufficient for people who have legitimate cash to take them back to the banks, so that the banks could change them to the redesigned notes for them. Now, don't forget, this policy came into place to complement the ongoing, emphasis on less cash, And this came about as a result of the fact that the Apex Bank found out that there's over, 3 trillion cash out there, which is not accounted for within the financial systems. People are keeping cash at home and in very odd and funny places. And so those cash that are being kept away from the financial system are not adding value to the economy, because they are out there hidden in various places around the country. But you see that this policy has provided incentive for people to take such cash back to the bank. I think at the last count, what's come back into the financial system is in the neighborhood of about 1.5 trillion, and the economy is better off to that extent, if you see it. So Nigerians need to look at the positive side, of this Naira redesign policy. There are several things that the policy is aimed at achieving. Now, with regards to some of the glitches and the difficulties that Nigerians are experiencing, National Orientation Agency has been working very closely with the Central Bank of Nigeria in terms of this sensitization. And you say sensitization is not enough. I agree with you. What sensitization does is it throws up feedback. When you go out and you tell people this is what it is, and because they now know, then they give you feedback as to what they are experiencing on the ground. Now, this is the value that the National Orientation Agency has been adding to the CBN in our work with them, sensitizing in the 774 local governments and the 36 states of the Federation, plus the FCT. Our officers on the field have been, all over the place. And some of the challenges you are talking about have come back to us by way of feedback. And we have passed these challenges to CBN, this feedback. Now, what CBN has done so far with this feedback is that they have realized that there's need to closely monitor the commercial banks. That's the point that he was making, And so they've sent very senior CBN officials out on the field. And these ones are going to those ATMs. They are entering the banks to see firsthand what is really happening and what is on the ground. And based on the results they are seeing on the ground, they are fine-tuning their approach towards making sure that the policy succeeds. No policy comes out without some form of challenge or the other, But so long as the regulatory authorities, and in this case the CBN, is keeping a close eye, working with us and sending their men out there on the field, they are getting to know firsthand what the problems are and what they need to do, to ameliorate those problems.
Okay, you just talked about the sensitization that you have been doing, but the currency swap, the Naira swap, just started recently, which is not just about a few days ago. Yeah. Now, was there enough sensitization, especially in the rural areas, because a lot of people might not have known that this is what is on ground? So was there enough, in your own opinion? Was there enough knowledge spread to them?
The currency swap was a response to feedback. You understand? In the process of implementation of this Naira redesign policy, in the rural areas, in the course of our sensitization at National Orientation Agency, we found that there are quite a number of places where there are no even banks. Far-flung places around the country, hard-to-reach areas where people did not adequately get this information on time, like those who are in the cities who had 3 months of awareness, before we are getting to the end of the time provided for people to take the old Naira notes back, to the bank. And because of that peculiarity, the CBN came up with the currency swap option so as to ensure that people who are in some of these far-flung areas and who have cash at home, and if you check, these are not the ones that are complaining because how much cash do they have at home. These are not the ones that are worried about the policy. They could easily go to the positions provided by CBN now for the currency swap option and then swap whatever old notes that they have, to the new ones. And in terms of the denominations of the Naira that have been redesigned, 200 Naira, 500 Naira, and 1,000. How much of those denominations do you find in the rural areas, in your village and in my village? So those who have bulk stashed at home are the ones who are worried about this. And the president has taken a position on it, that 31st is deadline. But I assure us that CBN is closely watching the developments, and we have reassurance in the fact that the feedback that we have taken to them, we see them responding to those feedback.
Oh, okay, Tanimu, excuse me. Now, the CBN Governor, Godwin Emefiele, claims that banks are making over-the-counter payments of new notes to their priority customers, and even some experts have alleged that some banks are hoarding these new notes, for their privileged customers. What, in your opinion, could be the implication of this at the end of the day?
The trend of hoarding new currency notes is prevalent. It's always been there with all the banks. They do that for high net worth individuals. There are individuals that prefer spending and dishing out new currency notes. Some is a habit. In fact, to the extent that we are aware of some cases where the DSS had to get some people arrested and prosecuted because they take currency new notes from the bank and they sell it out for maybe party activities, Owambe and the rest. So it's a practice that is prevalent in most banks. Those handling cash, they are a lot of them are culpable, and it accounts to why the implementation of this policy is having glitches. You go to the ATM that is supposed to dispense new Naira notes, where if we want to take the central bank very seriously, barely 6 days to the expiration of the deadline, you still have ATM in city centers dispensing old notes. It shows we are not very serious and committed in the policy, in the currency swap. The 3-month period is to allow for gradual implementation. Starting from maybe the first month, they should have by now seen that a lot of people are just seeing the new Naira notes for the very first time this week, some as early as yesterday, and you are making a policy 3 months ago and you are reaching the deadline. The normal nature that Nigerians like rushing things and they will live till the dying moment before. Already we are bedeviled with so many queues to join. Now there's no fuel. People are still on the queue to get their PVC. Then now you will now start contending. So it's about the failure on the part of the central bank to have a well thought out execution of a very good policy. The banks, the commercial banks, should have been closely monitored from day one. But you hear them saying that they equally have not been given the new currency note. So now anytime it comes, it becomes a scarce commodity. Everybody sees it as a means of prestige. They want to show off with it. And we don't know where it will take us. But the deadline to me and to most Nigerians, I know it's not realistic and cannot ordinarily be achieved.
All right, it's time for a break for our regular Vox Pop segment put together by Daniel Adirie. Don't go away.
The call for extension is because people are not seeing the note. Even myself, I've gone to bank severally and I've not seen the note. You understand? So it's due to the scarcity of the note. That is why people are calling for extension. So if by now the new Naira note is everywhere, people will not be calling for extension. It's very scarce.
Many people in rural they cannot come there and change their money. Look at the Yobe state. It's only in Damaturu that there is bank. How do you expect somebody from Potiskum, from other places to come? So I expect the CBN governor to be reasonable, to extend the date so that all these people could be accommodated. If that because of masses and all this, they said they want to decide democracy, then they should consider such.
Charity is supposed to begin at home. Like Abuja environment, we're not supposed to be seeing old note anymore, if truly they are very serious. Let me show you the sample. Let me show you the sample. Watch here. Do you see money here? Not been old and new one, be still inside Abuja. So that you extend it. We are all Nigerian. We should know what, we should not suffer ourselves. You know, not me, people in the village.
If you go market now, you say you want to buy something, then go say they know they collect your money. But yesterday, at the Obala, they come of Karum. As I go there, yesterday I collect 25,000, then give me your money. I come they ask them, say, what of the law of government? Say we should not use all money again. Then say the money no dey. How many poor man go know that one?
Welcome back to the program. You heard a lot of reactions there from Nigeria. By the way, my guests are still with me here in the studio. How would you react to it, Mr. Akuchi?
You see, all of this is very good feedback. And like I told you, in our partnership with CBN, they have often responded to all the feedbacks, you know, that we send to them. So I have no doubt in my mind that they are listening to Nigerians and that they will come up with solutions. You know, one of those solutions is the Naira swap that you saw. But since there's persistence in the same feedback, you know, from various stakeholders across the country, I imagine that CBN is also listening, and they will not stop thinking of how to make this entire policy convenient for the majority of Nigerians.
Now, how would you
I completely align myself with what they just said, because equally I had similar experience with them. And I think we should look at it from a two-pronged way. The CBN on its own should look at there is a failure in terms of policy implementation. Ordinarily, what we are seeing today are things that they should have envisaged and tried to identify and remedy before we keep happening and looking at the deadline by the other hand. Then on the other angle, there's this angle that we are not really paying attention. We are talking about infrastructural deficit in terms of IT support system and the system that the digital economy is supposed to thrive on. Most banks, they are having network challenges, either the software or the hardware. So you do a transaction, the next thing you have left the place of the transaction, you are seeing reversal, you have challenges, you call your bankers, you want them to effect certain changes, they cannot do it because the infrastructure, the software, the hardware, they are having challenges. You do not expect Nigerians to be using digital economy when in some places even the 3G is not, internet connectivity is not there. In the bank itself, you have a lot of transactions. People are keeping money at home because they don't even trust the financial system. The banks are, instead of being doing armchair banking, now they are trying to pass on all the costs on the consumers. That's the average Nigerian. You keep your money in savings accounts, you are supposed to get returns in terms of interest, but all what you keep, maybe 10,000, at the end of the month you go and see maybe 900 because they are taking charges for maintenance. So over time, people have been discouraged. So if you are trying to bring people back to digitalization of transaction, less cash policy, focus should equally be on the bank. They need to get NITDA, that's the and the Ministry of Digital Communication Economy, to be involved in supervising the kind of software, the kind of hardware that the bank. There should be optimization of what obtains in the bank so that your accounts will not be debited wrongly. Reversal should be treated expeditiously. The whole process should be seamless. Until that is achieved, people will continue to want to use cash, and we will not encourage, but that's the only means that is
I'm very happy David Akoji is here, so it will form part of his also feedback back.
Well, the point must
feedback,
be made that it would be, to my mind, a wrong strategy to wait until you have gotten a perfect digital situation before you begin to implement activities that should run on digital platforms.
So you are like an advocate of let's try it first.
Absolutely.
And see
you see,
where
the digital
challenges are.
the digital space is expanding all the time. It's also scalable, you know. So this cashless policy also creates business opportunities within the digital space. If you cast your mind back, you will find that when we started using the POS, you know, it wasn't as prevalent as it is today. And it wasn't as efficient as you find that it is today. There were usually, you know, several cases of network failure and all of that. But if you go out today, you find various options running on various digital platforms of the same POS. And it's become far more efficient and far faster than it used to be. So if we say we will wait until everything is perfect before we join the rest of the world, you know, in the direction that the world is heading to, I think we will find ourselves stuck in that space that we were in several years, even while neighboring African countries had begun to use mobile phones, you know, in countries like Niger, Cameroon, and smaller countries, you know, who are around us. Shoe shiners, traders, and all of that were already using these mobile phones when we were still stuck with our 909 for various reasons and excuses like this. But you can see what the migration to GSM has done to our social, economic, and security sectors in this country. So I don't think it is right for us to say we need to hold back until we get it right. 5G licenses were recently auctioned. You know, those guys are now entering into a field that will be profitable based on some of these policies that are coming up.
I'll stop it there. But
Okay.
I want to know, you know, even though the notes, people are still complaining they've not gotten the new notes and all of that. But you still notice that even the ones that are still in circulation is becoming dirty already. So is part of the awareness you're creating, is it also, does it also involve the handling of the legal tender?
Yeah, the Naira is a significant national symbol. And the NOA, National Orientation Agency, is the custodian of national symbols, alongside the national flag, you know, the national anthem, the national pledge, the coat of arms, the international passport. All these are our national symbols for which we should take pride. And we have often said to CBN that they should join us in advocacy for the proper and decent and correct treatment of these national symbols. Presently, we're in a relationship with CBN, and we're working closely. Before now, we had advocated for September 16th to be declared National Symbols Day, and this had been accomplished. So every 16th of September, the National Orientation Agency across the country brings attention to bear on these national symbols. It will amaze you to see that even some of our intellectuals do not recognize these symbols. You know, so the handling of the Naira is significantly important. You know, it should not be handled in such a way that it becomes dirty, you know, and unkept.
All right, thank you very much. I know you are itching to say something, but we don't have time. We don't have time. Much to talk about, but our time is up. So we'll have to stop here. Saying thank you to our guests for honoring our invitation. Special advisor to the Director General, National Orientation Agency, David Akoji. Thank you for coming to the program.
Thank you very much for having us.
And the human rights lawyer and former banker, Ahmed Abubakar Tanimu. We also say a very big thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And to our viewer, thanks for keeping tab with the program. Every weekday by 7:30 p.m. on NTA News 24. You can watch this and other episodes on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. Once again, thank you for watching. I am your carrier, Clinton. Goodbye.
so much.